Hey everyone, I thought I'd make a quick video to show you the next step in the process, which is wet sanding the body once you let the primer dry to knock out all the rough spots. Once again, if you haven't seen any of my previous videos about restoring this Dean EVO XM, please feel free to go and check out my videos and like, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you can go all the way through the process and you will be updated as soon as I post, and I've been posting pretty regularly now. So let's just get into it, shall we? Okay everyone, so in this episode what we're going to do, if you had watched the last episode, we primed it and we did some body work on it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to wet sand this off. This is just 400 grit sandpaper. I got it in my local auto parts store. I want to say it ran like $5, something like that. We're going to wet sand the guitar body and then we're going to put it out to dry before putting another coat of primer on it. I can already tell, and this was one coat of primer, but I can already tell there's a couple of spots that are still kind of thin when it comes to the paint. So I wanted to make sure that I'm leveling it out as I am getting ready to put another coat on, so there isn't any surprises down the road. So you might also notice over here that I have just basically a little trash can full of water. I did put in a few drops of dish soap as well. I have been told that the dish soap will actually help the sandpaper to keep the primer dust off of it. But we'll see. I'm not sure, so we're going to see. So like I said, this is 400 grit. I'm going to get it nice and wet. Then I'm just going over the body of the guitar. And when the sandpaper starts feeling as if it's getting dry, then I'm just going to go ahead and dunk it in the water. So I'm just trying to get the bumps off, basically. Not really even pressing very hard. I think I'm going to fold this again, just so it might be easier for me to hold this way. Yeah. So I'm trying to hit all the areas here. And there will be, for what I've read, there will be times where you actually accidentally sand through the primer. You can tell right here was real thin. But it should be okay for the most part because I'm going to be putting another coat on. So for right now, I'm just trying to knock down all those high spots that were on it from the primer. Sandable primer, it's very, very gritty. And oh yeah, see that's feeling even better now. You can usually do just a test with your fingers and any places where you feel it is still a little bit rough, like I can feel it right there. Probably means that the primer's still there. There's little bumps. So we just want to go ahead and take care of that. If you take care of it now, guys, you'll save yourself a big headache from trying to deal with it once you've already have a couple coats on. Then you're going to have to re-sand as well, and you might end up sanding through the primer, and in which case you're going to have to apply more primer. And this so far is probably the safest practice you can do here. Oh, I notice I'm getting stuff all over my window. That's okay. So I got the front feeling okay, so now I'm going to move on to the back. Same deal on the back. Hear that? Knocking down all those spots. That's basically all we wanted to do, is just knock down those primer spots. The more you knock them down, the smoother it's going to be. And the less work that you'll have to do too. And I don't know about you, but less work for me, the better. feeling nice and smooth. Now we're going to go on to the edges here. Want to make sure we get these nice and smooth as well. And see how it's taken off some of that, but if I dunk it into the water, I mean, what, 95–98% of it comes back off. So I'm actually adding to the longevity, excuse me, of my sandpaper, which I am perfectly okay with because this is supposed to be a budget build anyway. So the more that I can save, the better off I'm going to be. Just knocking out these rough spots. When I get all done, I guess I'm wiping down my wall too. As you viewers can see, getting a lot of this on there, but it won't stick. So you can tell right there, there's where I did that repair. It's kind of poking through. That's another reason why it's a good idea to at least do 2 coats of primer. Just 2 coats of primer. First coat, you can see where your little mistakes, or I won't even say mistakes, trouble spots, how's that sound? Your trouble spots are, and then that way you can pay more attention to them when it comes time to put on the second coat. You can see that a lot of dirtiness there, and that's just from, if you notice right there, I'm already pulling out the primer. Primer didn't stick too well right there, so I'm going to want to make sure before I paint this again that I wipe this down really well, either with alcohol. I don't know about alcohol though, that might even take the some of the paint off. So I might just end up using water once again with a little bit of dish soap, and that little bit of dish soap in the water will degrease it from the oils in my hand or any oil that was left over on here, because it almost seems like that's a little bit oily. So I'm going to give it a quick little feel here. Oh, seems like this edge is still pretty rough. So we're going to see if we see that. You can hear it. And we don't want that. We want it all nice and smooth feeling. Still a little spot there. I'm going to fold this up, get it wet again. Let's see what we can do. I mean, if you have a little bit of rough spot, it's not too bad. You'll just have to end up down the line doing some more wet sanding, but I'd like to be able to get it about as good as it's going to get between each, and I think that the quality of the product is going to increase because of that. So I'm just feeling around here. Everything's feeling nice and smooth. I got a couple little burrs right here on this side, so we're going to go ahead, sand that out a little bit. Oh yeah, much better. Always make sure that you keep this nice and wet too. You know, I don't even do it damp. I do it sopping wet. I don't really know what the protocol is for it, but I like doing it pretty wet. We got right around this top of the spine. Top of that spine as well. Actually, this whole little crevice that's right here. See if I just can't slip my finger in here. See how I'm slipping my finger in? Just trying to give it a little bit of curvature. There we go. And feeling once again. That feels good. Back feels good. Might be a little rough spot right there. Try to sand all in one direction too, if at all possible. I know you can't see the grain of the guitar because of course there's primer over it, but just being able to not do it in like a swirling motion, I think will help. I really don't know, to tell you the truth, if there's some kind of scientific explanation for any of that, but I know that with regular sanding you don't go against the grain. So alright, I'd say that feels pretty good. So I'm going to move my water, I'm going to move my sandpaper. I'm going to use this and wipe this off. Suppose I could wipe off my hands as well. So I want to try to get it as dry as possible before I put it outside to dry, just because it will end up decreasing the amount of drying time that it needs, because it doesn't have to evaporate any of the surface water. Let me give it a quick feel again. It feels pretty good, guys. I wipe my hands off. I must say that feels pretty good as well. Now you notice I'm using my bare hands, so that means before I paint it, or actually I might even do it now. Why don't I do it now? I'm going to grab a couple of paper towels. Once again, I'm using that dish soap and that water, just giving it a quick wipe down, just to make sure I'm not getting any oils on there, because oils on your skin when you're painting, when you get it on the paint, it will start doing funny things, that's for sure. Alright guys, and that's it. So I'm going to put it outside and we're going to let it dry, and then we'll move on to the next step. Hey everybody, so that's it with this step. I'm going to go ahead and let it dry outside, and once it's dry, I'm going to throw a second coat of primer on it. I'm going to wet sand it and go further on down the process. So until then, please stay tuned, click that like, click that subscribe, click that notification bell to where you will know when I post the newest video, so you can see this thing getting done more and more, okay? So once again, I'm not sure if I'm going to post a video on whether or not I'm going to put the second coat of primer on and wet sand, because you kind of already saw what I did there, so I might just do that off camera and get it ready for the base coat, okay? So once again, thanks guys. I appreciate everything that you guys are viewing, and I already picked out a color because I didn't get any comments, and I went to the auto store, remember? So write down in the comments, can you guess what color I am going to paint this turd? And I will give you a clue. It is not brown. Alright guys, thanks, and I'll see you soon.